we are able to provide wireless energy transmission. That is exactly why I'm on this podcast, and why I'm telling you that it's possible. That's a timing issue. It's not the fact that we are trying to look for the next sucker to try to do it. But I can assure you that if I want to do it, I can do it tomorrow.
I want you to look around your neighborhood in Singapore, Asian country. Which of them are actually buying into this idea of wireless transmission of energy?
I want to advocate change, that people need to work together. People need to understand that war is not the answer. And we have enough power, we have enough smart people in Asia, in Africa, in Europe to make things happen. Okay, my name is Alex. As you know that I'm actually from Singapore. I'm actually been a sustainability advocate and thought leader with Illuminum, and I'm also Illuminum.com, which is actually a international sustainable forum, and we have a bunch of 1,500 thought leaders. We write very regularly about our ideas on sustainability and the sustainability pivot. As you know, that sustainability is actually very important, and we are talking about how we actually want to tell people how we could motivate companies to actually look at their business processes, their general value chain, to actually pivot towards sustainability, because we feel that in order to understand what we need to do in terms of the sustainability pivot, we need to understand your business processes well, need to understand all the various levers of how we could actually make this sustainability pivot regionally or globally a success. Because as you know, the emissions is becoming a problem. We are also having a lot of climate change is actually getting to be more prevalent in various regions around the world. Very soon we will actually see the business being impacted by, if not already being impacted by now. So I do a lot of consultancy for companies with regards to energy, and also with regards to energy transmission, pivoting towards a more sustainable energy, and includes of talking about even things like soil quality, and about how we could actually make agriculture a bit more sustainable. One of the biggest thing that I want to always talk about is how we can actually reduce methane in rice production in Asia, for example, because a lot of people may not know that methane is the largest contributor. Rice farming is the largest contributor for methane in our Southeast Asia region, and especially for Vietnam, if I'm not wrong, it contributes about 50% of their methane output. So any time when we can actually reduce methane output through better uses of farming, and also pivoting towards electrification, we would actually help with the sustainability pivot. So what I want to talk about today is relatively exciting, because if I'm not wrong, there is not many people talking about the possibility of having wireless energy transmission in their region as well, because this is a relatively new thing. When we talk about wireless energy, when we talk about energy, we always talk about how people can move from the traditional coal production of energy into more sustainable ways, in terms of solar power, in terms of wind power, and things like that, right? But the emphasis was never on how we transmit energy in the energy grid itself. And the longest time it's always been, we always think that it's always through the HVDC, the high powered transmission cables. But there is an opportunity for us to actually use this new way of transmitting, which is actually wireless transmission. So I would like to talk about how this could actually impact how we even design cities, and how we actually can make use of wireless energy transmission to help us accelerate our sustainability efforts, basically. Okay, because for decades we have relied on wires to deliver electricity. But what if we could ditch the wires and beam power directly through air? It sounds like magic to most people, right? It sounds like kind of magic, right? It sounds like a lot of times when we talk about things where it's not normally done. I mean, for the longest time, for example, your forefathers taught about the motor vehicle being magic, right? Because longest time been using horse-drawn carriages, using ox cart, for example. They have not thought about a machine moving things. That same thing is what we are facing now. We are actually having a revolutionary way of transmitting energy, something like magic. I mean, to what in the past it is considered magic, basically, right? Our company itself has revolutionized the idea of actually not even line of sight. Most of the time, it's actually line of sight transmission. We are able to transmit energy in a relatively large area through various nodes, so that people do not need to use wires, expensive networks to generate power and to provide power for people.
Thank you so much, Alex. We are going to really spend some time on this area because it's really vitally important for us, particularly for maybe in your region, which is in Asia, and also for us in Africa. This is an important conversation because energy is particularly important for us. A lot of people in Africa want to have access to energy, but how do we really transmit it? That is, I'm coming to that. That is really very important. But tell me, how did you get into this this mission? Can you share something about that?
How do I get into it? Basically, we have been researching on this for the longest time, and we managed to actually. I can't tell you the technology, but I mean, it'll be a very long process to tell you about technology. But I will actually like people first, before we even talk about technology, to imagine first. Okay, to imagine a city, not where public spaces are equipped with wireless charging pads, seamless power everywhere from street lights to electric scooters. Okay, this reduces the reliance of battery. But currently, we talk about the magic of sustainable living. It's all about batteries, right? We have our battery electric vehicles, we have our battery mopeds, and everything like that. Think about and the batteries itself is normally very cumbersome. People think it will actually have electrical fires and things like that. But what if we could actually reduce the size of the batteries and enable wireless charging so that everything could be electrified without the additional charge, the price of batteries, right? Especially in ASEAN itself, where we actually moving away from coal towards everything electrified. Even for Africa, for example, it's very important that you guys think about how you use wireless transmission, because why? You can actually reach remote areas to really accelerate the development through wireless transmission. I mean, in the past, you know for a fact that you need electricity to help develop villages, remote villages. But in big countries like Africa as a region itself, it's very difficult to reach far-flung places. You would think about how we do that. You take a long time for electrical grid to move to that part. But now, because we are able to decentralize electricity, for example, now we could actually create microgrids using wireless transmission so that you could actually empower villages even to be electrified. So this is something so mind-boggling that I really need to tell the message to you and to everybody in that you influence, that this is now possible. So now that we have this wireless transmission possible, we are not only focusing on urban areas or very developed countries where electric vehicles are the norm, right? You think about in an African village whereby your devices, through addition of a chipset or something, will enable the traditional device to be charged like magic again, through this magic that you're holding on to something. For example, even a mobile phone. In a mobile phone, you will normally do your tap charging, even the desktop charging, right? You put it on the desk to charge, right? What if I tell you I can now enable you to charge your phone without touching anything, just basically receiving power through the air? Yeah, I sound as though I'm telling you things that is magical, right? Because nobody had told you this before, right? So I would sound like a crazy person on the air right now.
No.
Let me tell
You don't sound crazy at all. If I, at least you
no,
see.
I know, but to a normal person, normal person that have never experienced wireless charging, right? It does sounds crazy. I do understand, but that is exactly why I'm so excited to talk about this, right? Because if you understand the possibility of wireless charging, what it will bring to places like Africa or Asia, first thing, it will reduce resource consumption. Wireless charging eliminates the need of constant production and the disposal of batteries. For not so rich nations like developing areas of ASEAN, for example, or even Africa, think about how you can leapfrog forward without competing with the developed regions to have batteries, to actually create expensive batteries to compete with other people. You can now use normal low-powered batteries to do the same thing, which is something quite amazing. I mean, honestly speaking, okay. One of the things we talk about, the HVDC, which is actually part of the electrical grid network, which is the laying of very heavy, expensive, high-powered cables. Now with wireless charging, a wireless distribution of energy, you no longer need such expensive cables. Imagine the cost savings it will be when you only need to have antennas, which is something like you think about it like a Wi-Fi system where you have repeaters. You would actually no longer need that much cables to create electrical grid, right? Because I mean, in Africa and in most places in Asia, you would rely on physical cables and physical cables laying, and it takes time, and it takes time to get to you, and it's also expensive. And you know that for a fact, physical cables itself uses a lot of plastics because of all the insulation involved. So that alone is a sustainability pivot towards this. So that is exactly why it's so amazing. Is now you can technically decentralize power production.
Yeah.
Imagine the opportunities of having no single point of failure from a production perspective in terms of energy, right? Or in terms of national security. You no longer worry about a power station going down and everybody else got a blackout. Your grid being wireless can be like of many nodes. Like basically, it's actually like a telecoms nodes, but there are many nodes where you can actually produce power or even share power through that grid itself. I mean, the technicalities can be explained in future episodes, but what I'm sharing with you that it's possible to have a grid that is what you call smart power these days, where the grid enables every individual or every company to share power in terms of emergency or even selling the power back into the grid, which currently a lot of electrical grids don't have this ability to. Yeah. So hence, this is something that I like to impress onto you. It is radical, and it's also in terms of urbanization or creating green spaces. Now we no longer need to have so much infrastructure being created for places like very built up places like Singapore, for example. We can now have more green spaces that was previously used to make with infrastructure for energy grid or whatever things. So this also has the ability to free most places to create more green spaces, more biodiversity for things like this. So there lies the beauty or the magic of what I'm talking about, which seems improbable to most people.
But now this is how we usually do here in Obehi Podcast. We want to learn more about you. First, we learn more about you, your background, where you are coming from. That is important for us so that we can understand also your motivation, because we are having a storytelling. We are interested in the story, which is what is behind you. So
Okay.
tell me a bit about your background and how you got started in this vision. Yeah, tell me more about that.
I'm an economist by training, but I'm always been interested in sustainability and how we could actually change people's mindset. Because as you know, for the longest time, even from economics perspective, why I always blame myself, because as an economist, we always have never priced externalities, which is actually what we are doing in economic production, the negative externalities, which, for example, pollutions, we have never costed that in our production. So in some ways, classical economics actually created this problem of having a very unsustainable development. And you notice that every country is always very hungry for growth, right? So we created this consumerism and production, growth for growth's sake. That's why I said, and I'm very uncomfortable with it. That's why I'm always seeking a better way to actually do things, a better way that we could actually produce things, a better way we could actually run our companies. That is exactly why over the years I'm leaning more and more towards sustainability, more towards clean energy, and how I could actually convince people that there is a possibility that we could use clean energy to do a lot of things that we always thought was the norm. I want people to break away from the norm, and also to understand. For the longest time, we always have this very linear thinking, whereby we don't understand systems. System thinking seems to be a recent occurrence, where we know that a lot of the things that we do has a lot of effects on other things, right? For example, the pollution that we have. We think that when we use plastics, it only can create plastic waste. But now we know that plastics can break down into microplastic and nanoplastics that is found that we do have nanoplastics in our bloodstream. Imagine how dangerous is that? All of us technically are carrying nanoplastics, and nanoplastics have the possibility to cause blood clots and other kinds of side effects. So I'm very concerned about this, because this cannot go on. As a responsible or a person who understands this, I have pivoted myself from education to actually doing this sustainability advocate, and of course running consultancy for it. And now I'm representing a company that can create this radical change from traditional wire distribution to wireless energy distribution. That is exactly why I am so excited about it, and also why I want to come on this podcast to talk about the possibilities of an ecosystem. I'm now very interested to create an ecosystem and not products that enables people to innovate on this ecosystem, to come out more solutions for themselves. Because for the longest time, we are selling product for a singular solution. And you notice over the years, even in Africa itself, singular solutions are not working. Why? Because we live in a multi-stakeholder environment. Anything we do affects more things than we think is possible, right? There is no way that I do one thing and it affects one person. Everything we do affects multiple people, and we do it right is good. If we do it wrong, it also affects multiple people. So I want people to think about how systems thinking could radically change how we interact with each other, how we cooperate with each other, and also how we can create solutions for each other, right? So that is exactly why I used to be teaching in the universities or in the polytechnics itself. I've actually moved over to consultancy, and now I'm actually representing various companies in terms of talking about sustainable energy, even talking about how we can create new energy from agricultural waste. Places like, for example, in Africa, which is a relatively agrarian society, you know that through producing agricultural products, there is a lot of agricultural waste. There's also a humongous potential for you guys to actually align your agriculture waste to producing biofuels, for example, right? What we have as a challenge for the world and for regions itself is not about the fact that we cannot be sustainable. We need to align the feedstock of sustainable production to how we manufacture them so that we can make it available to the region. For example, Africa itself, if you can actually motivate people to think about how you can make use of your agricultural waste to create new products so that you could do biofuels, even sustainable aviation fuel that's in high demand from really an agrarian society. You could leapfrog it to something else which is high demand, high value. And because I think when you look at my background, I'm also one of the chairs for GSFN, which is actually an organization that helps the Global South link up with innovation and investment from more developed countries. I'm very concerned that the Global South needs to actually move ahead to be more aligned to various innovation so that they could leapfrog what they are now to become what they are in the future. The Global South do not really require people to help them as in giving them kind of, they can help themselves. That's what I'm thinking. Because there is so much opportunity for the Global South to really move ahead of everybody in terms of even solar energy. If the investments is correct or the things are aligned, you guys could actually be the powerhouse of your region to be the creators of sustainable energy for the region itself. Yeah, so do be excited the fact that what you are facing now is not a problem. It's a very big opportunity for Africa to actually think about how, with this new sustainability concerns that the world have, to turn your fortunes around to become the bigger player in the field of sustainability. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Now, I wanted to spend some time on the technicality of the wireless transmission. I think it is important for people to understand. Now,
Okay.
how does the wireless transmission for energy work? That is important. I want you to explain to somebody who do not have an idea of that.
Basically, what it is it works on what your mobile phone actually. The technology is actually very based on how mobile phone works. So it's perfectly safe technology. It works on a near 5G band. Basically, the bandwidth itself is a 5G band. But what we actually do is that we manage to actually make wireless transmission possible through an additional device that is placed onto your mobile phone or your electrical device, for example, enable this device to capture the energy from thin air, which is transmitted, into converting it into another wavelength so that your phone or your device could be charged. So in simple terms is that we are able to do that. And the best part is that I'm very excited to tell you guys is that the transmission loss, I mean, all transmission, be it wired or unwired, has a transmission loss. Our transmission loss is actually less than wired transmission. Just think about how amazing that is. Yeah, and it's laboratory proven that through the antennas, through the various repeaters itself, because we can transmit it via various antennas to reach the power that is needed through the receiver device, also via antenna, so that you can actually be charged. Think about it as a mobile phone that could be charged without physical contact. So that's as simple as I could actually talk about it, because if I want to talk about it from a very technical perspective, I will need to talk about it from a quantum level, which honestly speaking, I do have scientists that can talk to you about that. We have a white paper that's going to come out within these few weeks, and I would love to send this link to you so that you guys could actually understand more about the technology that we're going to show you through this white paper, and I'm sure you'll be very excited to understand how this system works. Another thing I want to tell you is that through this wireless energy transmission, think about the fact that you can actually now, through your building itself, for example, you have a building, you could actually create smart buildings by just having all these antennas within the building, and actually they can charge it itself. You could have your IoT devices. I mean, IoT is actually all the sensor devices that can actually be self-powered just because there is actually antenna that could power the IoT device, which means that all your monitoring devices, be it within your smart buildings or even within your agriculture needs, you can now grow your crops, for example, using these IoT devices without the need for very big batteries. You could actually deploy all this, what in technical terms is DMRV, digital measuring, recording and verification devices, to actually record, for example, your reduction in carbon emissions in for example, in the African agriculture sector. What this means for your agriculture sector is that you can now say that, for example, if you can actually measure your carbon sequestration, you can actually go into the carbon offset market to say that you can gain additional revenue from the carbon offset market. Imagine how powerful that will be for you in terms of your agriculture sector, that now the African farmers, no matter where they are, they can be part of the carbon offset market. Yeah, so through this very simple technology, there's like magic, through the IoT devices, you are now creating an opportunity that never existed. That would actually, if you guys use it wisely through your own innovation, not through ours, we encourage you to innovate yourself so that you can actually benefit from this ecosystem to enrich, to rise, be the tide that raise all boats, for example, so that everybody could benefit from this ecosystem. This is exactly why we want to build it. So we are not building, as I once want to reiterate, we are not building products. We are building an ecosystem that everybody can participate. Everybody can actually create innovation layers of innovation so that they could actually benefit from this ecosystem. One of it is obviously the carbon offset market, which I'm sure a lot of African companies would be interested to participate in, and there is a huge potential for African companies to participate in this aspect. And of course, you rightfully tell me is that especially in the more remote regions, electrification for remote regions, I know for a fact it is actually a very big thing for you guys, and for any ASEAN nation as well, to be able to reach to the more remote locations through helping them electrification. You can actually enhance communication, enhance opportunities, even create e-commerce opportunities for people that you never thought was possible. So there lies that I'm creating the building blocks for African individuals to innovate. Yeah. So I just want, I'm so excited to talk about this because
it's okay. We can
yeah.
feed the excitement in you. But now tell me something. This technology, is it something that was recently discovered, or has it been around but we didn't know how to apply it before?
As I said, from the previously when Nikola Tesla created his power to distribute energy, it was possible even back in Nikola Tesla's time. But that discovery, because he doesn't understand quantum technology, that way of actually transmitting energy was very wasteful. It's to the factor of 10, I think. I can't remember the exact science. Is for example, you want to have 10 megawatt output, you can only transmit 1 megawatt through your wireless transmission. So it's actually, there's a lot of loss under the Nikola Tesla environment, because the fact that he doesn't understand the understanding of quantum technology is not there yet. Because for the past 8 years we have been working on this technology that we have, that we can actually transmit wireless energy with minimal transmission loss. So there lies the difference. The technology was never a radical technology, but we have refined it. We have through the use of quantum quantum technology that you will know of it this week or next week when our white paper comes out. That how we would be able to do this on a large scale, basically.
Now, there's another area that I'm really very interested in the
Mhm.
conversation, as of course, as energy is concerned. Of course, here in this podcast, we could actually take on several episodes to talk about this. It can never be enough because it's particularly important for us, not only in Africa, but for a lot of people in the world, even here in Europe. It's a big issue. You see, the war that is going on in Ukraine, a lot is actually happening within the area of energy, because people need to live because the economy is continuously evolving and people are of course looking for a way to be more sustainable. We can see that the model of the certain model that we have is not working anymore, or at least they need to be renewed. And for those reasons, there are a different way, there are different opinions out there on how this can work. Countries like France, for example, they are very heavy on nuclear energy. Country like Germany, for example, they are heavy on wind and other. So we believe also that thanks to AI and other new technology that are coming in, people are beginning to look for what is the solution? How do we find a solution to the problem that we have? And when you look at Africa, for example, Africa is actually full of opportunity in terms of energy, but we are just in darkness in a greater part of it. We are in darkness. And I think this is due to lack of knowledge that we're not able to tap into the resources that we have in front of us. Because we can, if Africa were to tap into just solar, we can power the entire planet, not just Africa. We can power the entire planet. So
exactly.
Tell me about the second part of energy, which is now you talk about transmission, but what about the generation? Tell me about that.
The generation would require obviously sustainable finance that of course IMF and the rest of the people would be able to help you guys with of course the financing bit of it. That's definite, because if you have recently hear what World Bank and IMF is talking about, they want to actually refine their systems to be enable the global south to actually get fairer investments in terms of large scale investments. One of it is of course the special drawing rights that they're going to refine, and of course they want to have forex guarantees and all that kind of stuff, right? Because you and I know that in Africa the rates of borrowing is actually much more costlier than anywhere else, right? So if we could actually make access to finance more accessible to African entrepreneurs, and of course through partnerships, I would like to see energy generation through sustainable power such as solar to be a real thing. Because as you rightfully say, you guys, I'm not talking about the powering the world. You guys could actually power yourself. That alone, with wireless transmission, enables you to leapfrog in terms of being able to be electrified. Think about it. If you can electrify people from remote regions, they now can get access to education, because we now have online education. You think about the impact through Africa, through enhancement of education, through enhancement of knowledge. That alone would propel your brothers and sisters to become more able to help yourself and help your own nation itself. That itself is powerful. Of course, it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, when you can create energy transmission through sustainable finance, through creating solar farms, that you could now wirelessly transmit the power through the most remote regions, through people that you could actually power even very long range electrical vehicles. Doesn't have to be very sophisticated. Doesn't have to be a Tesla. You think about the opportunities that you can use our technology to put it onto every lamppost. What does that mean? If you have an interstate that has the lamppost with the wireless energy transmission, you can actually drive a car from one end of Africa to the other end using just the charge. Imagine that ability. It's like once again, it's like magic. You are able to to do so with your car, to be able to move from one location to another location without emissions, without the need to have a really, really big battery. You are just continuously charging your, okay, don't even talk about car, talk about a bicycle. You could do that. That is the power of creating mobility for Africa. Creating mobility would create opportunities for the entire region to work together, to share ideas, to enhance commerce. Just the opportunities are immense. Of course, there lies, you need to get the power generation in order. To get all your wind generation, your solar power is definitely a tall order. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. In the past, when you generate the sustainable power, you have a problem to transmit the power through very expensive HVDC, through the transmission cables. That itself is a very prohibitive investment for most African nations. So now with this antenna technology, you are not inhibited by this problem. Because if I'm not wrong, there is still so much opportunities for infrastructure in Africa. You can now start afresh. Unlike other people like us, for example, in Singapore, we are so bloody built up that you require a little bit more creative thinking to actually put in the antennas to make this in place, even though we are talking about it. So there lies the opportunity for Africa to rethink about how you want to use wireless technology, and of course through investment in your solar power, to reinvent your own country and reinvent your own continent, to be able to power yourself without relying on fossil fuel. I mean, for the longest time, fossil fuel is something that's been holding a lot of developing countries back, because it's expensive, and that is one of the ways that it generates power for most countries, even for Singapore itself. We are moving towards hydrogen coal-firing plants, but we are still very reliant on fossil fuel. Imagine a world whereby, for example, even in Africa could provide some of the solar power to us. Imagine what kind of cooperation the world would get when people have access to so much solar energy, can provide to people like a small island like us. We don't have the space to do such things. So this creates a new environment for greater cooperation between people. Now, imagine Africa being a power-rich country without using fossil fuel. That is something that you can't imagine at the moment, right? But actually possible.
I remember
right?
just that when I was saying that if the energy that is touching Africa could actually be tapped is enough to power the entire planet, it might look like an exaggeration, but it's not an exaggeration. Because
Exactly.
it's enough to actually measure that heat that is touching the surface in the Sahara, for example. That is huge. You know, there is a large investment going on, I think, in Morocco and in the neighboring country. There is a huge investment going on in terms of solar investment there, sort of solar energy transmission and generation. I believe there is really a huge power there. But anyway, having said that, I wanted to maybe take away
you need to dream harder. The Africans like you need to dream harder. Yeah. So it's not important. As rightfully say, it's not impossible. You think about it, even for the Gulf region, through wind power alone, is actually calculated that in the Gulf region, using wind power, they could generate 200% more than they need to use at the moment. The Gulf region can be a net exporter for wind power. Why not Africa for solar?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, share with me a model, because this time that we're talking about Africa, but we can actually, energy is not only Africa that is energy starved. There are many countries, many continents in the world that are actually energy starved. I just made mention of what is happening in Ukraine and Russia. That is an important argument related to energy. A lot of European countries are still dependent on the natural resources coming from Africa in terms of fossil fuel and the rest of it. That is about energy. Now, because what you are talking about is important for me, I wanted to share with me if there is any country that we can use as a model that are probably experimented on this. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Singapore, that we can say, okay, let's learn from there. Share with me.
There is currently, because we are still pushing this to be piloted in most countries. There is technically nothing that I could share with you right now, but we do have pilots coming along the way, which I definitely can share with you in the near future. But currently, what you're talking about, but I never like to mix geopolitics with what I do, because I don't like the idea of war. Nobody likes the idea of war, but war is happening, and lack of energy and the distribution of power do lead to war. But what I like to tell you is that, because, for example, your region itself, if you can be the net exporter of energy itself, do you think that you will actually create another new balance in your region, that now that you have a lot of power, you no longer need to fight over power? But that creates a new environment whereby, how do you get people to share power? I mean, for the longest time, since our forefathers' days, it's always been the inability to share that creates the problem, right? It's not. In a perfect environment, we would actually be working together to create a sustainability pivot that everybody enjoys, and through my technology, everybody can share the wireless power. But is it happening for Europe? Is it happening for Ukraine? The answer is obviously no. That creates that power vacuum that everybody needs to fight over, which is also absolutely unnecessary. But it's also difficult for me to talk about it, because the business of politics is not what I do, and I normally don't talk about it. So the business of actually what we could do as people that could advocate change is that I want to advocate change, that people need to work together. People need to understand that war is not the answer, and we have enough power. We have enough smart people in Asia, in Africa, in Europe to make things happen. But it requires what I always call, if you read my Illuminant articles or my commentaries, it requires what we need to be known as coordinated collaboration. Collaboration is not enough. It has to be coordinated. And how do we coordinate when we have wars going on? It's technically impossible, because we are not in a mode to think that through working together we could do better. You know, in the world, what we are doing now is that we have this zero-sum strategy. For me to be better, you have to be worse off. Is it working for us? The answer is obviously no. If it's working for us, right? I mean, the zero-sum strategy, politicians have been convincing other people that it is useful, but what it leads to, it leads to war. But if we understand this, but why are we doing this through our forefathers' days till now? So I don't have the answer for it, and I will never have the answer. But what I would like to suggest to you is that we need to have a paradigm shift towards coordinated collaboration, for people to understand that our sustainability pivot is anti-war, is anti-geopolitics, is pro biodiversity, and what we are doing benefits everybody. If only people understand this, we would think about all solutions could be solved. Basically, Africa could power entire continent, and help others like us. Thank you very much, to give us some power, because we can't generate it the sustainable way, because we don't have the space. So it creates the environment whereby we understand the strength. For example, Singapore's strength is that we are a financial hub. We are able to create financial opportunities for developing countries to gain access to finance, right? But developing countries have also certain kind of attributes. What I call comparative advantage in economics is that, why don't we share this? Why don't we share your opportunity and my opportunity and make this work, right? Without thinking about, yeah, how could one country gain at the loss of another country? That is industry 1.0 thinking. That is totally unthinkable now, right?
I believe
I
that
hate
the
to say
children
this.
of the the children of the future.
I hate to say this. We talk about Industry 4.0, right? A lot of people are still thinking Industry 1.0, even though they're talking about Industry 4.0. In their mindset, right, has not evolved to think about, hey, how could I benefit both of us? It's always, how can I benefit me? I don't give a damn whether you are alive the next day. But that is wrong. If you not being alive, if you are suffering, I will suffer, not now, but eventually. Yeah, that is something. I wouldn't want to go into religion, because that is beyond it. It's basically basic human rights and basic human decency to say that me and my brother needs to work together to create opportunities for everybody. That is exactly why I'm so interested in building ecosystems and not products. Products can be innovated by Asians, Africans, or anybody who understand his community to build products. If I can build a ecosystem to allow you to do that, I can say that I've done my part as a human being for this lifetime, and everybody is happy. So that is a very big motivation I'd like to share with you. And if you agree with me, this is something we could do together to make people understand that the ecosystem, what I have and what Africa can do, is the same. No difference. There's no difference between what Alex can provide and what your African brothers could actually create in due time, and to create super amount of opportunities for everybody through wireless energy.
Thank you so much for that.
I'm painting a very utopia picture that
no,
I do understand
it's not
hard to believe, but it's true.
No, it's not even utopia. Yeah. It's a basic common sense that people haven't grown. So, what is called common sense is supposed to be the basic thing. But people so much into the academics that they forget where they are, the level, no? So they are imagining where they are not. So they forget themselves.
We live long enough to know that common sense is not very common. So here lies the challenge, right? I mean, it's very hypocritical to talk about such things, but seriously, we've lived long enough. We know that we advocate a lot of things, right? I'm not advocating radical change. I'm just advocating for you to think about how we could actually work together. That's all I'm asking for. All I'm asking for, how we could work together through a common ecosystem whereby you innovate for your country, because you guys contextualize your community needs, right? Because my ecosystem is community independent. Your unique energy needs for Africa is not the same need for me in ASEAN, and there lies opportunity for Africans to create the unique products that African communities need, which I have no idea what it is. Yeah.
That is fair enough. And you don't have to know that by fact, because you're not Africa. Yeah. You don't live in that reality.
You don't. My point is that you don't know you don't have to be a genius. You have to rely on people who know their communities to help their communities. Because for the longest time, people think that I need to know everything.
No, you don't have to.
There lies the problem. We don't know everything.
All right, Alex, tell me something. You were making mention of Nikola Tesla before, and you were also making mention of maybe some of the flaw, particularly related to the transmission of the energy at his, the projection of his time, so that a lot of energy was actually lost in the transmission. And now you are proposing a different way, which is the wireless transmission. And but
he's also wireless. He's also wireless, definitely. Yeah. This is wireless.
Okay. Yeah. Share for me what is the difference between your model and his model, if anything you took from his model to improve what you are doing today. Help me understand that.
He created the genesis of the idea of actually wireless transmission. We improved it through technology, through a different kind of technology. Through quantum understanding of quantum better, because only quantum technology is only understood only in the past 10 years. So we understand how quantum technology, for example, how a proton could actually change to actually make this opportunity for us to actually transmit energy more efficiently. Of course, that particular understanding is relatively complicated. Even I am not privy to at the moment. But we actually use the latest, of course, the understanding of quantum technology to enable very low transmission loss through wireless energy transmission. It is through Nikola Tesla's genesis of the understanding is possible to do that enable us to dream harder through evolving technologies to provide this wireless transmission for everybody in the near future. Yeah.
Thank you for that. But now
Yep.
I have a curiosity because
Okay.
the question of energy very important for if we want to go on, no? Otherwise, we're going to return into the cave and into the forest. Now, why are we not spending a lot of time talking about or experimenting on how to tap into energy that we already have? Energy that we already have, like solar, like wind, which are very natural. Instead of maybe lay more emphasis on the fossil fuel, and you don't want to talk about what are geopolitics, yeah, right? I understand that, but in the world, whether you are looking at Africa, the Asian country, a lot of war have been fought for petroleum.
Yep.
Whereas countries like the United States, like Russia, European country, Africa, all of us have access to the sun. We can all tap certain degree of energy from the sun. And the sun is free. Wind is free. Like, for example, Germany is doing a lot with its wind energy. But every country in the world have access to wind and water and the hydro. And why are we not laying emphasis on those free energies instead of going to dig petroleum in some places, creating war and all of that? If you could maybe share something in that line.
The definite thing is that sustainable energy is not cheap. I mean, we have not reached. It is definitely thanks to the fact that China is actually doing a lot of solar power, and most of you know for a fact that most of the solar panel actually comes from China. They have industrialized to the point that solar power is very accessible to anybody, and of course there brings the same. I won't use the word problem, because if you think about it, when we create that many solar panels, you also understand that there will be a 15 to 20 years shelf life for a solar panel. That also creates a hell of a lot of waste in the near future. So solar power is getting very much cheaper, but there's still involved installation costs. And of course, what I would like to allude to you is that whatever things you do involves transmission costs. Transmission costs is still running on wires these days, right? Yeah. So what if Germany has lots of windmills, but the windmills are in remote locations? Remote locations need wired transmissions. Wired cables are not cheap. So that there lies the opportunity. Hence, the opportunity for wireless transmission is a much cheaper alternative that you could actually create a wireless transmission grid and do away with expensive wires in remote locations, so that you could actually power a country more efficiently. We have not done the absolute maths for a country of size of Germany or whatever, but we can confidently say that when you talk about getting renewable energy through wind, through solar, because all these places where wind and solar is available is in bloody remote places. So there lies the challenge of actually transmitting through wires back into places that needs the power, and hence this power is not cheap. Well, whereas fossil fuel, for example, you could transport the energy in a fuel tank and actually create the power in a power plant. You can create power in a power plant and transmit it relatively close to the cities that you want to transmit in. Not true for solar or wind power, because normally in an industrial scales plant size of megawatt generation of solar power. I mean, you have seen those in China. I'm sure Africa there is as well. Those are in really remote locations that is really far away. So there lies the challenge. I mean, if China has the wireless technology that we do, they'll be so interested to talk to us. I mean, we haven't talked to them yet, but soon we will be talking to them. So that there lies that opportunity that everybody could benefit from this. Yeah.
All right. China is just there, your close neighbor. Why are you not talking to them?
China is a very big place. It's not like I can tomorrow like just talk to. I mean, China is not a human being.
Okay.
You can be, yeah. So China is a very complicated place. But what we want to do is, because Singapore is a very, very good test bed, because we know it's an urban area, and we could actually do very small test bedding pilot projects in Singapore, and create that understanding, that impact, so that everybody would know. So to us, as a start, Singapore or the regional areas in ASEAN, or even if there is actually a green is a new eco city that's coming up in any parts of ASEAN, for example, do talk to us, because we'll be interested to talk to you regards to how we can actually create a small pilot from a virgin city, to actually see how wireless power could radically change how you perceive municipal development, city planning, how you actually can use that to radically change even transport, education, or whatever things that electricity touches. Just think about it. What things do you have right now that doesn't use electricity or electrical energy? The reason why we can communicate with each other is also thanks to electricity. So that there lies the implication of what I'm doing, and hence excitement. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
I
tell
mean,
you,
we can go on and on. I mean, in future episodes that talk about the nitty gritty about how we could talk about for cities, talk about how we could talk about agriculture. This could go on, because what I want you to be interested in, or to your audience, is to give them the impression that how they could come back to us to say, hey, how can I can use Alex's idea of wireless transmission of energy, because I don't have all the answers, definitely, but people that is part of your audience can think of ways whereby they could exercise their innovation to think about how they could use new things, and to empower opportunities that I can never dream of.
Alex, now,
Yeah.
I want you to look around your neighborhood in Singapore. I mean, Asia country. Which of them are actually buying into this idea of wireless transmission of energy, so that maybe we can consider? Yeah.
I mean, it's so new. I'm just beginning to talk about it. I mean, you are the first person I'm talking to. I'll be talking to other people, but it's so new that I'm only recently been able to talk about it. I do have people who's talking to me within ASEAN. I can't tell you the names at the moment. Definitely, you will be hearing from me soon with regards to the projects I'm doing. There is many townships. For example, okay, off the cuff is that places like in Indonesia, for example, there's a new city that they are building that is going to replace Jakarta, which is actually Nusantara. There is an immense potential, because they are building a city from ground zero. There's actually reclaiming lots of land from virgin jungle to actually create the new capital. Because as we all know, Jakarta is sinking because they remove a lot of groundwater over the decades, and the city is sinking, I think, a centimeter a year or something, which is quite astounding. So they're creating a new city, and this year there's about 200,000 civil servants going to move to a new part of the city, which is still being developed. That area has a lot of potential to implement a wireless energy transmission, because that would reduce the cost dramatically for new infrastructure. They no longer have to build, as I said, the HVDC power transmission cables. So that implication, and of course the rest of the things that requires electricity, that could use much less battery power. That is seriously is so worthwhile to pursue. If the mayor, I mean, we know who the mayor of Nusantara is, would discuss with us to see how we could actually do a small pilot project, for example. So all this would be so interesting, that benefits from our research perspective, and of course from the municipal planning perspective. Yeah. So we do not understand. I have to say, we do not understand how this could be used more efficiently. The municipal planners would know, and through working with us, we will actually find the most optimum way whereby we implement this technology to the most efficient way that we know currently. Same way for African cities itself. We have no idea what is your unique requirement, how to contextualize your community to our technology. But through that knowledge, we can only, as you know, sustainable concepts are all iteration. There is no one solution. As I like to tell people, there is no one solution, and Alex cannot provide the final say that this will be the ultimate thing. We are always iterating our products or iterating our services to make sure that it will meet all your stakeholders' needs. And there is not one perfect thing that will meet all your stakeholders' needs. It's always an evolving kind of need that we will need to consider.
For us, we are looking at a kind of energy that is sustainable and that can be accessible for everybody, because the energy really is accessible, just that we don't have the means of tapping into it and using it. Because take a look at sun, for example. Again, we don't need to. That is no. We don't. It's a no-brainer. No, the sun. Our skin is like this because of the sun. Because there is enough energy that is hitting you. But maybe we can look for a way to tap into that. So I'm really looking at what you're talking about. I'm looking at the future. What are the possibilities that we can actually use to be able to use this so that you can live in a village and you don't need it to connect to the national power grid. You can actually tap into these natural resources and you will be fine to power your house, to power your city. You can be fine.
Think about microgrids. You no longer need to be part of the national grid. Okay, the national grid itself is definitely be useful, but the national grid would no longer need to keep expanding to reach the remote locations. Remote locations can have their own remote grids. That is a standalone grid that has nothing to do with the national grid. That alone, I mean, that also involves certain political maneuvering, but think about the possibility of having a what we basically call microgrids. Microgrids are small grids in the past that used to be wired, that could actually be. I do have a partner that could create microgrid. For example, one container that he could use. You could actually use agricultural products to create ethanol and whatever things to power a small village. That technically can be a microgrid. But if you can actually, for example, use solar power because Africa has got so much sun, right? And using wireless technology, there is no limits to what you guys can do in terms of actually empowering your villages to become electrified. I mean, if I'm not wrong, large parts of Africa's landscape, the villages itself are not electrified, and it's always a challenge, right? It's always a challenge to electrify the towns of Africa, right?
That is correct. You could take a look at Nigeria, for example, a country of over 200 million people. For several years now, we have been fantasizing around the idea of 6,000 megawatts of electricity for the entire nation. That is impossible. How can you do that? The economy is crumbling because because we are living in an age where you need refrigerator, for example. You don't need to preach to refrigerator. The only thing that is here is the energy. You plug it to it. The energy is there or the energy is not there. You can't do miracle in that, don't? And you can't tell me now that if you have 20 refrigerator, you are going to power it with the energy that you're supposed to power to. It's not going to work because these are practical things, no? So
you are very right to talk about this, because see, your perspective, I mean, a lot of your city, or a lot of your government perspective is working on the Western perspective of how energy is generated and how energy is transmitted. What I'm actually offering you now is that if you can convince certain financial people to give you the finance to do microgrids, you will not have this problem of actually creating a 600 megawatt power plant that is ridiculously expensive, that have difficulty to reach out to remote locations. You get me? So it means that you can now have a technology that could be replicated, which, for example, you could actually have African entrepreneurs to create miniature microgrids that runs on locally produced solar panels, locally produced licensed technology from us to do the wireless transmission, so that you could actually now, through African entrepreneurship, create micro power grids to do something that, honestly speaking, the major power grids cannot do. Just think about the sort of the utopian imagery that now you can. But I need you people to come up with the finance. You people to suggest to your governments or to suggest to the NGOs that this is what you need. Then of course all these things could happen. Because now I have the technology to enable this to happen. So that is the interesting part of this discussion. I mean, I can't, of course, create that finance for you, but I would like to tell you that the opportunity is there because solar panel is already a mature technology. What you guys lack is actually the ability to do the wireless transmission, which you are actually hampered by the traditional fact that you need wired transmission, and you are also hampered by the fact that you are beholden to the fact that the conventional thinking is through national grids. You are now freed from this, so hence, now that you know, hence you may be the person that changes this for your own country.
Right. Listen, Alice, we are talking about making reference to Africa. Africa is an immeasurable amount of land.
Of course. I mean,
okay,
through your own country. You're from where again?
I'm from Nigeria. Now let's say
you
for example,
can be the Nigerian person that changes the fate of Nigeria.
Wait, Alice. Let's say maybe for example, the Nigerian Ministry of Energy decided to call you and say, okay, Alice, come, let's talk. Because Nigeria, again, is a very huge country. It's not small. They want to do a project with you. Now,
anything is bigger than Singapore.
Yeah. Sorry?
Any country is bigger than Singapore. Yeah. If you fly fast enough, you'll miss us. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So now they would say, okay, tell me the reliability of wireless energy transmission and show us example of what have worked before so that we can buy into it. Tell me your response.
We have not created. As I say, we have not created we are going to create pilot projects. There is no established wireless technology network at the moment, which is why on laboratory testing is 100% safe. It's also 100% transmittable through vast distances. Of course, it's the same thing as like a Wi-Fi kind of thing. There is repeaters that is involved that you can actually transmit through the antennas through vast distances. So we already have the models to prove that it works. And of course, we won't implement large scale. Even for example, we can't because we need that kind. We have the ability to do so, but we want to make sure that this actually could be scaled up through effectively for a country as big as Nigeria, for example. We are assured that it's doable. We have no problem we are not talking about empty promises. We have done this for 8 years. So we know that technology is able to do so, and we have already refined it in a way whereby it can actually go through long distances, and we can tell you for a fact that wireless energy grid and wireless remote energy grid is possible. Yeah. So that lies the fact that I can guarantee you for a fact that it's doable. But what I would like to say is that I would like to impress into you is that yes, your government could be important when we talk about this, but it's more important that people like you and your fellow entrepreneurs in Nigeria would come forward to tell the government, now why don't the SMEs or the companies in Nigeria do microgrids instead of actually getting the incumbent? You know for a fact that all governments are hampered by bureaucracy. Why don't you guys lead the charge to say that, hey, let me do that, let me try for a village first and show you that it works. Then now you through the government finance me to scale this, because this is very scalable and it would make a lot of people I won't use the word rich, a lot of people really important for Nigeria to provide that power to the masses. It will change people's lives, basically. Yeah.
I believe it will change people's life. It will change people's life. But
if there's one thing that could change people's life is energy. Yeah.
You are right. Absolutely. Now, listen, Alice. Now, when you want to propose a project like this to people like in Africa, for example, in Nigeria, in this case, so that we are specific, they will ask you, why is it that you have not made a test run of this project in a live environment that they can see? Why do you want to make a test environment in Nigeria where you have not tested it in Singapore or in other countries in the world? What would you say?
Well, someone has to start it first. The thing is that I'm starting it right now. But if you want to be the first to do it, basically that is the power to you. Of course you can come in later, but there will be a different. I'm not trying to say that because we are only now matured enough to say that we are able to provide wireless energy transmission. That is exactly why I'm on this podcast and why I'm telling you that it's possible. That's a timing issue. It's not the fact that we are trying to look for the next sucker to try to do it. But I can assure you that if I want to do it, I can do it tomorrow. So there lies the fact is that if you want to do it, we could technically get our scientists to talk to you about the possibility. We will show you the models. We would do a pilot project. But honestly speaking, we may or may not even need the government to provide us with the so-called lots of money to do the pilot project. We are that confident to say that I could show you for a fact that I could run the pilot project and show you that it works. A lot of the time is that when companies talk to governments, they always say, "Hey, let's just provide me X number of millions to do it." I can assure you that I have the funding to do it on my own, with or without so-called the government's blessing if it's needed. If it's an entrepreneur coming to me say, "Alex, why don't you come and do something with me on a relatively cheap scale, low cost, to power a small area to show that it works?" I can easily do that. I can confidently say that I can do it. I'm not, to put it bluntly, we are not really that needy in terms of actually the fundings to prove that it works. We have proved that it works in a laboratory environment. We have built it and according to a sizable scale to know that it can work in a laboratory environment, and we have tested it out on a small scale, but not on a municipal scale that it transmits power. So no problem, we can do it. So whether you think we can do it, you need to convince yourself whether you are willing to try a new technology that would radically change people's lives, or are you still waiting for the next breakthrough in wired technology that require you to pay billions of dollars to come up with a 600 megawatt power plant that has a. Let me remind you again, a single 600 megawatt power plant has a single point of failure. My version of what wireless production has no single point of failure. Which one would you prefer?
Alex, tell me something like this. A city in Nigeria, for example, or a city, let me say a city in Europe, decide to give you a place to experiment. They give you a small municipality to experiment. This place have no light. Tell me, what are you going to do to generate and transmit light there? What are the technicality that is going to be needed to experiment on this place so that these people would then have 24-hour power supply? And what is going to be the cost, more like?
No, I have no idea what the cost will be like. That will be my technicians. That will be the technical things that they will involve my technicians and of course my scientists to talk about. But honestly speaking, we have no problem to provide that because we're only doing transmission. We are not doing that. We are not doing the energy, the electrical creation. The electrical creation will come from your solar power, your wind power, your hydroelectric power. We are doing that holy grail part whereby you guys are actually having this cost disadvantage to move power from remote locations to where it's needed. I don't know whether you guys realize this. This is actually a very big deal for a lot of projects. How to move power from a remote location to where it's needed. Yeah. So we have. In terms of actually creating light bulbs and all that sort of thing, local contractors can do that. No problem. The established understanding of electrification is known. Is not rocket science, but the understanding of how wireless technology transmission is enabled through my antennas is something that is unique to us. That's the only difference. That's something we could provide with confidence. The rest of the things, you guys already have the knowledge. You guys already have the ability to create yourself. For I'm sure in Nigeria, you guys have people that can create solar farms, can create wind farms. I don't know whether you guys have hydropower. I'm sure if there is a river, you can actually create hydropower. So I do understand this is possible. This is existing technology, but that gap is what we could fulfill. And I'm sure your energy council, your energy authority understand this completely. Yeah.
Hope they do. Of course, we do have hydroelectric power, and we also
You do?
do
Okay.
have different sources of power.
Just out of curiosity,
Sorry?
how big is your hydroelectric power? How big is your biggest hydroelectric power?
It's not the question of being big. It's large, of course. The question is the efficiency. It's not effective because I just told you that we are generating about 6,000 megawatt of electricity for a population of 200 million people, 3 times the size of Italy as a land mass. So that can even barely power a city to talk of. Anyway, that is beside the point now, because what I was looking at, say maybe for example, somebody wanted to experiment with your project, because since you have not been experimented in a live environment before, they will probably like to see that, no? Because I don't believe this is something that really can work. Only that people want to see the proof of what it's really doing, no? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yep. I have no problem. In the future, in the near future, you will see it. Definitely, if you are patient enough, you will see it. I'm confident that it will work. But now that you know of it happening, you can start the conversation going, and over time you will see more and more projects coming up. I mean, I do understand there are obviously a lot of fears in government related things that because you're using public money, it has to 100% work. I have no problem over the future of my lifetime to show that this actually works, because this is actually an opportunity for the world to understand. Now we can actually really work together through wireless transmission. Yeah, but this is an opportunity for me to share with you of this possibility of not using wires. That's all I'm hoping. In fact, I'm not actually looking for projects to do, because I'm already in talks with some other places to really create the pilots. Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, tell me, people want to learn more with you, learn more about what you are doing. They want to connect with you. What is the best way to reach out to you?
On my LinkedIn, you have my LinkedIn. I'll send you my details, because I'm now engaged with this company called Sync Neuro. So I'll give you my new details. So anytime I will also be writing a lot of things about. Now my current interest, of course, is actually wireless energy transmission. You can look out for me on illuminate.com, because I'm one of the top contributors for ESG. So I do write a lot in terms of changing people's mindset about how you could actually pivot your business model towards sustainability, and I'm also very, very concerned about electrification and energy. So do look out for me on LinkedIn. I'll send you my details. I mean, you have my details on LinkedIn, and of course on my LinkedIn itself, I have the various channels that I write my commentary on, and it's normally very varied, and it's always to do with sustainability. I like to talk to people with regards to what is their ideas of sustainability, so that I could actually share the ideas. I'm not interested to say that my idea is correct, because 99% of the times is that my ideas is just an idea. But if you can actually use it for your country through your own contextualization, more power to you, sir. So to me that's important. What I could do now is that I'm the advocate of certain ways that we could do things. For example, like wireless energy transmission. But it's up to you to see how it works, right? I don't like to dictate. I don't like to be the one to say this is the answer. If there is an answer, I will have solved it long ago, sir. That doesn't work for sustainability. That is actually why we are in this mess. We have no idea how it really, really works for every individual community, every individual country. That is exactly the complexity that we're talking about. And hence, we cannot have the ego to say that I have the solution. I have the ecosystem. You have the solution. That is very important. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Now, what will be your final thought here to conclude the conversation? Maybe a short message. Yeah, please go ahead and do that.
To me, I would like to tell Nigeria and people in Africa is that you guys have immense potential, and I can provide the ecosystem, and energy is out there. And think about it, energy cannot be, I mean, rightfully, the first law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be destroyed, and you guys have the energy. You just need to harness it, to be able to distribute it, and you see your country change in a positive way that you have never seen before. Because energy is just the start. You actually bring in ability for your countrymen to be educated, to do new things with power, to do more things with electrification. That if, as I rightfully told you many times before, if there's one thing they can do for your country, is through providing equal access to electricity. There you will see Nigeria and the rest of Africa change for the better. Yep, that's all. Thank you very much, sir. I will send you my details in LinkedIn. Yep.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. I'm in the future. I'll definitely come back again to talk about other things that is more specific. But in this point in time, I'd just like to talk to you about the overall understanding of wireless energy transmission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you too. Have a wonderful time.